So how do you start a new habit? That's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, I want to tell you a story. So one time there was this little boy, and he's walking through the woods, and he comes across this lumberjack who had an axe and was just chopping away at this giant tree. I mean, the tree was so big that 5 men could not wrap their arms around the tree. Lumberjack, he's chopping away, and the boy watches for a while, and it seemed like the lumberjack was making no progress whatsoever. So he walks on about his way. Then he comes back, and the lumberjack is still chopping away, and he's barely made an indention. And the little boy watches him for a while, and tree is still standing erect. And this thing was huge. It's still straight up. Looks like the lumberjack has made no impact on this tree whatsoever. So the little boy leaves. Comes the next day. He finds the lumberjack. He's still going at it. He's made a little bit more of an indention, but still, the tree is standing erect. It has not fallen. It hasn't swayed. Lumberjack is still going. Little boy walks on. Comes back. Lumberjack is still just chopping. Tree straight up, goes home. Finally, the next day, comes back. And this indention is all the way through the tree. Yet the tree is still standing straight up. It still has not fallen. Little boy, he stands there and he's watching for a little while, but the lumberjack just keeps chopping away. Little boy leaves. Finally, the little boy, he's walking back through the woods, and all of a sudden he hears like thundering through the forest, and he thinks to himself, oh, the tree's about to fall. It's about to happen. So he runs up, and sure enough, the lumberjack looks, said, young boy, stand aside. And he takes and he fixes his grip on his axe handle, and he chops. And then finally, with one final blow, bam, it just cracking throughout the entire forest, and boom, tree falls. The little boy watches. He looks up at the lumberjack. He said, sir, I've watched you chop all these many days. And he said, I have a question for you. Lumberjack, he's sweating. He's kind of out of breath. And he says, what is that, young man? He said, well, of all of the chops that you made, between the first and that last, which do you think was the most important? The lumberjack thought for a minute. He knelt down and he got eye to eye with the boy, and he said, all of them. We're in the last evolution of massively transformative habits. And each audio message that you've listened to, every video message you've watched, every type form quiz that you've done, they were all chops. And as we are reaching the middle of the tree, I want you to realize that from the first day you started this program to where you are now, until we finally reach the end of this, every single blow is important. None more important than the other. This is all compounding. I don't want you to lose sight of that. And wherever you are in your life, whatever portion of this class and this course has really resonated with you, remember, it's all just one stroke, compounding all the others. If you have to go back and watch a video message again, do it. Never, ever stop swinging your axe. Okay, so today's lesson, how do you start a habit? Well, if you'll remember, when MTH first started, there was a video where I was very adamant about one thing, and that was this. I wanted your commitment. And do you remember, I asked you to write it down. I asked you to write a description. I asked you to do one exercise that had everything to do with your success in this course. And I'm wondering if you did it. And if not, here comes the reminder. Here's how you actually start any habit. It's this simple. You commit. You have to have the day, the time, and the place that you're going to perform whatever new habit that it is you're trying to develop. You have to set yourself up for success. You have to actually tell your mind to look for cues that it is time to implement the habit that you desire. And if you do a time, a day, and a place, if you get that in sync, then you've got 3 cues right there. It is Tuesday. It is 3 o'clock, and I'm home. That is when I have decided to work on massively transformative habits. That is whenever I have decided to do my breath work. It is Saturday. It is 7 a.m. and I'm at home. It is time for me to go for my walk. That's what I said. I wrote it down. Because here's what will happen. Even if you don't do the habit that you've said you're going to commit to, you will have 3 separate cues based on where you are, what day it is, and what time it is to go get that habit started. So you have to commit. Now, there was some research done on this, and it was to see how they could get people to do more exercise. And so what researchers did was they actually took one group and they just said, okay, what we need you to do is we want you to keep an account of when you exercise, how long you exercise, how many days a week you exercise. Okay, that's all they told that group. The second group, they explained to them the benefits, the cardiovascular health that they could have as a result of exercise, and they also asked them to read some material. So this was the motivational group. They motivated them to actually go exercise, and that was it. But then there was a third group. They took this third group, they described to them the benefits of exercise, they gave them material to read, but then they asked them a question. Will you please let us know the day, the time, and the place that you plan to do your exercising? Now, this is crazy. Group 1 and 2. Group 1, all they were asked was to keep track of it. Group 2 had some motivation. Group 3, motivation, research, time, date, place. Groups 1 and 2, between 35 and 38% of the participants exercised at least once a week. Group 3, 91% of the participants exercised at least once per week. And the only difference between Group 2 and Group 3 was that they were asked the question, the day, the time, and the place you plan to do your exercising. You have to commit. Look, the first one sounds great, right? We're tracking it. And there's some ways to make tracking and accountability beneficial. But it takes more than that. Because all that is, if you just say keep up with it, well, that's just a rear view looking component. What about planning for the future? Remember, we had an entire course on how important it is to have a vision and to have a plan. This is what our mind wants. Our mind wants something to see. Our mind wants a target. A mind commits to a target. Energy and focus flow toward a target and a commitment. So this is incredibly important as we look at getting these things started. So all the things that you've learned through this course, and I told you that was the unique component of this course. I'm going to tell you the habits that you should develop, but also I'm going to tell you how to make them habits. And this is where it begins. Your breath work, your meditation, your exercising, eating, whatever the case may be, whatever it is you're trying to start. This is how you get started. You have to commit to it. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to go, not at this minute, but as we wrap this lesson up, go back and look at some of the things. And look, I get it. Some of you are just either, well, I want to be optimistic, okay? I was going to say, some of you are just going to look at this stuff and say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do box breathing. I'm not going to go take ice baths. I'm not going to get up and walk, whatever the case may be. Whatever you decide, it's your life, it's your vision, it's your future, you're planning, right? But those things that you have decided, you know what? I want to start doing this early morning breath work that Jason's talking about. I want to start journaling every morning. Okay, if you want to journal, then say, I will on this day, on every weekday, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I will on this day, at this time, in this location, do my journaling. That's what I'm going to do. This is something that I've put into habit or put into practice to really, really get these habits to begin and stick much, much easier. Habit stacking. You already have habits that you do each and every day. As a matter of fact, one of the things that's a great exercise is to just take inventory of what you do every single day. Just think to yourself from the time you wake up till the time you walk out the door. Look at all the different things, everything from going to the bathroom, brushing your teeth, pouring a cup of coffee, making a piece of toast, reading, all these things, whatever it is, looking at the news, looking at your phone. Find something you already do and try to plug in one of these habits that we want to develop. The one that I do is I want to stretch more. Okay, I hate to stretch. The older I get, the more I understand how beneficial that stretching is to me. So I obviously want to do that more. And so what I've started doing every morning when I wake up, I start out with a cup of pu'er tea, which, by the way, the reason why I do pu'er tea is because it's good for creating akkermansia, and that should mean something to you if you've made it this far in the course and you didn't skip anything. Akkermansia is good for the gut lining, right? That's how we steer those macrophages that we talked about back in immune-centric health. So pu'er tea is one of the things that will help increase akkermansia. So I always come in and I put on my teapot first. I start it. And while I am waiting on my water to boil, that's when I start doing some basic stretching. It's like 3 minutes of stretching. It's not long, but that's what I do. So I've stacked that habit. And the teapot, starting the tea, that has become the cue for me to now do my stretches. See what I'm saying? So habit stacking is very simple. It's just this. After I do this thing, I will do this other thing. You're leveraging a habit. You're leveraging something that your brain is already doing. It's already in motion. And you can do this with all sorts of things. After I get home and walk through the door, I will. You know, take something that you do every single day and tag on one of the habits that you're wanting to form. So the main thing that I want you to take away from this message is the commitment. The day, time, and place is absolutely critical. Don't be afraid to write it down. Hold yourself accountable, because then you've created 3 cues right there. It's the day, it's the time, it's the place. I'm supposed to be doing this thing that I wanted to create, and then do some habit stacking. Leverage the habits that you already have. Instead of just creating out of whole cloth brand new ones, then leverage what you're already doing. This is already a known and natural behavior. It goes back to, and we're going to go into more depth on the B.J. Fogg behavior model. But remember, in just kind of the introduction to this, and this behavioral science, I told you on the behavior model that you've got to make things easier. If the motivation is probably there to be healthy, for me to stretch. I'm very motivated to stretch. It just has to be really easy to do it. And so if you're already doing something and you just want to add a little bit to it, a new habit to it, that brings it to an ease. It gives an ease to it. So it matches the motivation with the ease, and it puts you above that action line right in that top right-hand corner, which is where we always want to focus on. We want to make whatever habit it is we're trying to develop in that top right-hand corner of the B.J. Fogg behavior model. Any habit that we're trying to break, we want to make sure we bring that dot somewhere below that action line by either making it harder or lowering our motivation to do it. Usually it means making it harder to do. Okay? So go make some notes. Go do some habit stacking. Go have some fun with it. Go look and say, after I brush my teeth, I will do 10 air squats. After I pour my cup of coffee, I will take 3 deep breaths to begin meditating. You know, whatever the case, use mine. After I start my morning tea, I will do some yoga flow stretching to get the day started. Whatever it is. Another one, just a really quick one that I've adopted too, is the Maui principle to start my day. After my feet hit the floor, I say to myself, today is going to be a great day. Zig Ziglar, I got that from B.J. Fogg, and Zig Ziglar used to do a deal where it's whenever his feet hit the floor, the first thing he did was clap and go, wow, it's going to be a great day. You know, If you have a spouse that sleeps a little later than you do, that can be kind of a problem, but it does work. If you want to do like a little affirmation, one I just heard on the James Altucher show, I think it was Cal Fussman that James was interviewing. He told me one of the things that he heard from somebody was, after you get through brushing your teeth, give yourself a mirror high five just to see that. So as a way to strengthen your mental motivation and to affirm and to kind of enhance your mood, then after I brush my teeth, I will give myself a high five in the mirror. Whatever it is, but that's easy, because then all of a sudden, brushing your teeth, something you already do, becomes the prompt for the new habit, motivating yourself that you want to develop. Make sense? All right, keep going.